Hello everyone, thanks so much for coming. I see some people here, and I will just wait for a couple of minutes so everyone can be in, and then we can just start. By the way, the Q&A section is already active, so if you have any questions, go ahead and submit your questions. I would love to answer them. Or just say hi, introduce yourself, tell me where you are joining this call, which country. All right, I think we can get started. So hi everyone again. Thanks so much for being here. My name is Buse, and it's so nice to meet you all. And I'm so excited to be here, and I want to talk and share some useful tips with you as a non-native English speaker. I have been writing, so just to give you a little introduction, I have been writing on Medium for over 5 years. I love writing personal essays or some articles on marketing. And there are fantastic people reading my articles on every month. So I thought it would be nice to have a conversation with you all and about writing in English when it is not your mother tongue, to give something back to you and to pay this kindness forward. Right? I see there are more people now. All right. But more importantly, I really want this session to be interactive. So please go ahead and submit your question through the Q&A section. And after a short intro, I will dive into your questions so this talk can be more beneficial for you. All right, let's get started. So as I said, my name is Buse and I am a copy and content writer. But before that, I was just a kid who wanted to become a writer, and I started writing on Medium. I am originally Turkish, and I didn't start learning English until I was 14. And apart from that kid with huge dreams, I was also a person living abroad and looking for a job earlier this year. And I was desperate, anxious, and angry. I applied for so many writing jobs and did several interviews. In most cases, they didn't even get back to me because there was a different name on the CV I submitted. So my name gave me away, and they knew already that I wasn't a native speaker. And there was also a time when I did an interview with a creative agency that I really wanted to work with. And the interview went great. I could see those people wanted to work with me, but they weren't sure about my writing skills because I am not a native speaker, even though I told them about my education experiences and so on. They invited me to their office for a writing assignment where I had to write a landing page copy about a technical brand in a few hours. And as writers, we all know that our first draft sucks. So I did the assignment anyway, and despite being a first draft and the pressure I felt, it was a good work. Like we could work on it, maybe we could change the structure of some sentences, but overall it showed my creativity and my ideas, so I was proud of that work. But half an hour after delivering that assignment, I found myself in the street waiting for a bus that was 40 minutes late, and I cried silently while waiting, hoping that my sunglasses covered my sadness, tears, and mostly anger. I was so angry because when I delivered the assignment, their feedback was amazing creativity. We love it. It shows how creative you are as a copywriter. You know how to engage with your readers. You know how to play with words. Your idea on this landing page is just fantastic, and no one but you could come up with that. And to that point, I was almost sure I would get the job. But then they go, but we need someone who is a native speaker. We would rather have someone with a dual writing, but with a stronger command of the language. So someone who didn't learn the grammar, but knows it by heart. And it took me some time to get over what they said and to believe in myself again. But I don't think I can ever forget how much it hurt and how much I felt disappointed in myself. And that made me question so many things. Like, how does being a native speaker of a language show that you're a great writer? And what does even native speaker mean? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, I didn't know how to answer that question, so I went to the dictionary. And here is how Merriam-Webster dictionary defines native speaker. Native speaker is a person who learned to speak the language of the place where he or she was born as a child rather than learning it as a foreign language. A person who speaks the language of the place where he or she was born. So, does this definition say anything to us about our proficiency level? How we use English, how we use a certain language, how we write in that language? No. Like, let's analyze this sentence. Just bear with me for a second. I was born in Turkey. So while growing up, I communicated in Turkish. So supposedly Turkish is my native language. And if my previous potential employers were right, I would be a great writer in Turkish. But I suck at writing in Turkish. I can't express myself as well as I do in English. Like, I studied English literature for 6 years, so I know more about the English language and I have read more in English. And as of today, I use English more often than Turkish to communicate. English is the language in which I feel the most comfortable. So, am I a good writer in Turkish? No. Am I native enough to be a writer who writes in English? Absolutely not. I am definitely not a native speaker, but I write for a living. Like, I earn my money, I pay my rent through writing. So, where does this whole thing put the importance of being a native speaker to write? And I know many people who don't feel confident enough to hit the publish button on Medium just because they're not native speakers. But as you can see, being a native speaker doesn't necessarily make you a great writer. Writing is all about creativity and your ideas. Especially when you write personal essays, your writing takes life from your experiences. Writing is the way you react to the events happening in your life. It is how you process what is going on in your life, if it makes sense. So if English is your second language or third, fourth, I don't know, but you know how to communicate in it, it's definitely not an obstacle for you. Where you were born or how different your accent sounds like doesn't define your proficiency in this language. And Medium has always been a place where authentic human stories matter. And since I started writing on this platform, I have created a small community. People commented on my articles, saying how related they felt to my stories or my experiences, but never once have I heard someone criticizing my grammar or my use of language. Writing is something that is always in progress. You try, fail, improve. You try again, you fail again, and you improve until you find your voice. There are many things to consider to improve your writing, like storytelling, the structure of your story, your voice, your characters, your personalization, etc. Having a perfect use of grammar is not one of these factors. And believe it or not, when you write in English, that is your second or third language, you have an amazing advantage. That is the fact that you are not a native speaker, which we see as a disadvantage, can actually become an advantage. Like, let me explain myself better. So you see, when I first started writing, I was also discouraged because people would tell me that I could never be as good as a writer born in an Anglophone country. And I discovered this advantage we have as non-native writers along the way. So Turkish is an extremely rich language. We have several idioms, colloquial phrases, and words that can mean 5, 6 different things. Turkey is a huge country. When you move from one region to another, you hear different words or phrases that you didn't even know they existed, you know? And our figurative language is very elaborated as well. It sometimes takes me like hours to understand a Turkish poem or a novel. So although I feel more comfortable writing in English, there are some feelings that English can't really capture, but I know some Turkish phrases would express those feelings. Like by writing my personal stories, I realize that when I translate and adapt these Turkish words or phrases, sentences into English, it just gains more profound meanings to my writing. Because I know as a Turkish speaker that there is another way to express my grief or joy, and so that knowledge expands my imagination and my capacity to find ways to describe a certain feeling. And it is very unique because that is something only I can find because I have an extra perspective coming to me thanks to my native language and my background. And the same thing goes for you. When you dive into your language and find points of view to improve your writing, it becomes your voice, and it is so personal and so authentic that none of the native speakers can ever come close to you because it is your tradition, your home, your childhood, your voice, yourself. So you can learn English and try to write only in a way that a native English speaker do. I don't know, you can become the next Stephen King or Jane Austen or one of those famous writers on Medium, which is perfectly fine. But you can also differentiate yourself by taking advantage of your native tongue and being just yourself. And let me give you a secret that, by the way, for those who have joined this session later, please ask your questions. I would love to answer all your questions here. So let me give you a secret that you already know, and that when you take from your native tongue and personalize your writing, you wouldn't be the only person. If you are interested in English literature or studied it like me, there are certain books that you have heard of, right? Frankenstein, Jane Eyre, Miss Dalloway, and the amazing masterpiece Heart of Darkness. Heart of Darkness is regarded one of the best novels in English literature and one of the earliest samples of postcolonialism. Joseph Conrad, the author of this book, depicted the European colonialism in Africa so well, and his prose was so good that this book has become one of the classics. And later, when postcolonialism became a field, academics studied it and researched on this book a lot. And this huge success made Joseph Conrad one of the greatest writers of all time. So what is my point? Why am I talking about literature all of a sudden? The writer of a widely acknowledged book was born in Ukraine to a Polish family. So his native tongue was Polish, and this great English writer didn't know how to speak English until his 20s. But he created one of the best novels in English. So this guy probably sucked at grammar at first, but it looks like nobody really cared. And also that's the reason editors exist. But there was something so special about his writing that his broken English somehow made him one of the greatest writers who write in English of our time. And nobody could have written Heart of Darkness as well as Conrad did because they didn't have the diverse background / advantage that he had. If you read other exophonic writers such as Kazuo Ishiguro, the Japanese-British novelist who got Nobel Prize in Literature, or Elif Shafak, the Turkish-British writer who has written fantastic novels in English, you will see that the narrative and storyline of these writers are extremely unique. And there are certain expressions that you didn't even know they existed until you read those novels, because these writers take advantage of their language, of their own native tongue, and write unique narrative and phrases. Like, for example, Elif Shafak, she is also Turkish. And when I read her novel, that she originally wrote in English, I was fascinated, but I could relate to that novel more than maybe an American reader or a German reader because I know the culture that she's writing from. And that makes her writing even more unique and more personal and more special. So by turning their disadvantage to their advantage, these people give us special books, authentic stories to read over and over again. Like they change our literature, they make us feel something. So if you are writing personal stories, or if you want to write personal stories in English as a non-native speaker, please do take advantage of your language. With your native tongue, you can create extraordinary storytelling because at the end of the day, we don't want to read polished writing with a perfect grammar. We want to read authentic human stories. Like everyone has a story to tell, and none of these arbitrary rules should prevent you from telling yours. And now let's dive into some practical tips that have helped me improve my writing as a non-native speaker and find my voice. Read, read, and read to learn. Like every book is an opportunity to learn and for you to read different styles, different voices, and perspectives. Reading a variety of writers can improve your vocabulary and show you different storytelling techniques. And steal from these writers if it is necessary. I studied English literature for 6 years, and I have been under influence of these narratives for sure. Because at the end of the day, what we read influences us and makes us better writers. So try to read some non-native writers who write in English and try to learn something from them and still, I don't know, maybe you see a phrase that related to you and then still that phrase, rewrite it, rephrase it. It is perfectly fine. Everyone, it's not like you are stealing their work. You are just getting influenced by them. So don't worry about stealing other writers' works. Like I don't mean stealing their work, like stealing some ideas from them until you find your voice. And of course, you know how the saying goes, you get better at writing. You can't get better at writing unless you write. So practice as much as you can to train your writing muscle. Write, throw away your pages or publish them. Like whatever you decide to do with your draft, just please keep writing to find your voice. And my other suggestion would be use AI tools. I don't think AI will replace our jobs as writers ever. I mean, at least not now. But I definitely think it can help us edit our grammar. Like apart from editing tools such as Grammarly or Hemingway, you can use ChatGPT to fix your spelling mistakes by staying loyal to your voice. And one of the most important pieces of advice that I could give to you is ask for help. Become friends with native speakers on Medium. Like, for example, over time, I have created a community on Medium and I have met amazing people around the world that I can call friends. And sometimes I ask them to check my articles. They suggest me new structures, make a quick spelling check, and edit my writing. Medium is a very collaborative and friendly space. Don't hesitate to network, build relationships, and ask for help when needed. So that is all I can tell you. I'm going to check your questions right now. And please, if you have any questions regarding this speech or just if you have already prepared some, go ahead and let me know and then we can conclude this call. Let's see. By the way, thank you for staying. I'm so happy. So I see the questions. Let's start with that one. If that is possible in session, could you enable the chat? I'm sorry, I can't. Chat is only for the stage area. Hi, Tanya. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, and you are from Denmark. So someone asked, do you recommend publishing in English or your native language? It depends. It's a great question, but I didn't think of talking about that, but it really depends because if you want to grow your audience in your native language, go ahead and publish in your native language. I will say there are two different things. But me, for example, I wanted to have a career writing in English. So I just started publishing in English, even though my writing was terrible. My sentences were like so long and they didn't even sound natural. Because if you want to grow your audience in like with people speaking English, I will suggest you start publishing in English. If not, if you don't care about that, and if you want, or if you want to just, if you want your audience to speak your native language, go ahead and publish in your native language. How to use correct grammar and usage to write and get correct words. To your question, just a second. Let me approve these questions. So I would say you can use Grammarly and Hemingway. Hemingway is not for the grammar, I'm sorry. You can use Grammarly and ChatGPT, like I mentioned, to fix your grammar. I mean, you can keep reading novels, etc. But if you wrote something and if you need if you need someone to edit your article, you can create a prompt on ChatGPT and say that please fix my grammar and spelling mistakes by keeping my voice, and ChatGPT will fix your grammar. I have decided a while back that when I write on Medium, I stop giving a beep about it if I make some mistakes. I give my best, of course. Is that a wrong approach? Well, I agree with you. I've been writing on Medium for over 5 years, and at first I remember there were some people who were reading my articles and were telling me, you can't really you can't be as good as a native speaker because you have a disadvantage that you can never write, you can never sound like a native speaker. And at first I was so discouraged, and I stopped writing on Medium for a long while. But then I was like, who cares? Like, it's not like like I mentioned, there are so many writers whose native tongue is not English, but they still write amazing works. So writing is about improving your writing, your creativity, your imagination. It has nothing to do with your language. And if you can improve your writing, that's perfect. So I think I would say don't give a peep uh, about your mistakes or what other people think. I hope that answers your question. Hey Zoe, you're from Brazil. Nice to meet you. I recently started writing in English and I wanted to know what is your tip for dealing with insecurity. I feel that since I am not writing in my native language, Portuguese, a bit of my personality is lost in the process. How to deal with it? How can you overcome with insecurity? That's a great question, and I have been feeling quite insecure while publishing my work on Medium, or I know marketing myself on LinkedIn or Instagram or Twitter, etc. But you have to start from somewhere, and if you let your insecurity stop you, there will be someone else from Brazil with the same speaking Portuguese, and that person will start trying, failing over and over again until they find their voice and start writing stories that resonate with people. So I will say, please keep going. Even though you feel insecure, try to ignore it, because at the end of the day, you can get better as you practice. So and if you feel insecure, and if you let that insecurity stop you, you can't practice. You won't have the time to practice. Hi there. I know how to pronounce your name. I'm so sorry. You are from Nigeria. I'm a product designer whose writing skills isn't so great. I look forward to getting great tips from this session. I hope this session has been helpful to you. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I left uh, my link below on the screen, by the way, for all of you. Are translation services reliable to translate your work from your first language to English? Doro, thank you for your question. I wouldn't really trust, like it depends what you mean. Like, do you mean Google Translate, like, or like translation services like Google Translate? If so, I wouldn't really trust them. Believe me, I tried so many times, and I translated something in Turkish with Google Translate to English, and it didn't give them, it never gives the meaning. I mean, despite AI and all technological uh, improvements in our age, translation websites still, I don't want to say suck, they save the day, but I don't think they are reliable enough for your writing, if it makes sense. All right. I'm trying to see if there are any more questions, and we're running out of time. How can I make my text more catchy for native English speakers? So I will try to, as quick as possible, to answer other questions as well. I will just say try, because there isn't a specific formula to improve your writing, unfortunately. I wish there was. I wouldn't be making this talk right now if there was. Just try, keep practicing until you find your voice, and then until you find your voice and make it catchy. That's all I can say. I usually think in my native language, when I start writing in English, I feel something stopping the flow, which could be a lack of confidence in English. I can definitely understand that. At first, I was also always thinking in Turkish, and that kind of breaks the flow. My advice is write in your language. For example, say that your native language is also Turkish. Just write in Turkish. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Like keep the flow, finish your writing, and then go translate it to English and make it sound as English as possible by keeping your voice. That's the most important thing. Hey Yana, your question is, what is the toughest challenge you face as a non-native English writer? Amazing question. Definitely, it was to simplify my language, because, as I said, I studied English literature and I learned how to write complex text. Like I wrote my thesis, and I remember writing like one sentence, like that long, like 4 lines long, and when I started on writing on Medium, I thought I would just copy the same thing. I would just write in the way that I knew and it would perfect. But no one read my articles, because I saw my articles were interesting because I would get views, but no one would stay on the page and finish my article. So I realized I have to simplify my language, and that was my biggest challenge, because once you learn a language, it is very difficult for you to unlearn it and unlearn it and like adopt a new way of language, if it makes sense. So that was my biggest challenge, but I've been repeating myself, but I just kept practicing. I kept reading the top performing articles on Medium until I managed to simplify my language. I mean, when you write something, see, like, reread it and try to understand if it is clear enough. That's the only thing to overcome that challenge. How do you decide what topics to write about? Federico, hello. It's a great question. It depends on what you're passionate about. At first, I was just writing personal stories, but I am also a marketer, so I am passionate about marketing and advertising. So for the last few months, I started writing on marketing, and I saw they are performing well on Medium, so I'm just trying to write more on marketing. Find something you're passionate about and test if it is working on Medium, and then just uh, just keep going. Can you be more specific about how to use ChatGPT? Uh, we ran out of our time. Please reach out to me on LinkedIn and ask your question again. I would be more than happy to answer your question. I'm so sorry I can't right now because I reached my time limit. But please, all of you, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, say hi. You can follow me on Medium and just reach out to me and say hi. We can get to know each other, introduce yourself and ask me your questions. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so happy that we had this conversation with you all. Thanks so much for joining, and enjoy the rest of your day, and hope to hear from you again on LinkedIn or on social in general. Have a great day, you all. Thank you so much.